In this lesson, we are going to look at how to solve the quadratic equations, and a quadratic equation is an equation of the form y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants. Now make sure that the value of a must not equal to 0. So whenever you have an equation of the form, you are dealing with what we call a quadratic equation. Now, under this part, we'll look at how to find the roots of an equation. And the roots of an equation are the values of x that satisfy an equation. Now, under this lesson, we'll look at some methods that we can use whenever we are trying to find the value of x. So now, first method that we are going to use is factorization method, and we are going to apply the zero product rule. Okay, now let's have the first example. So we are going to say solve each of the following equations. The first equation, here we have x, open bracket, x plus 2 is equal to 0. Then our second one, we have x minus 3, x minus 2 is equal to 0. Our third one, x squared minus 36 is equal to 0. Okay, now here we have the first party. Now we can see that the first party is already factorized. So what we are going to do is, the first step in a particular question like this one, we are going to equate the variable outside the bracket, which is our x. So this x will equal to 0, or then the inside also we equate that part also to 0, which is x plus 2 is equal to 0. Then what you are going to do is, we are going to move our positive 2 to the other side, giving us x is equal to 0. The sign will change from positive 2 to negative 2. So the other x value is negative 2. Okay, now we can move on to Roman number 2 here. Also, we have been given a question that has been factorized. So here we are going to proceed by equating each bracket to 0. X minus 3 equals 0, or x minus 2 equals 0. So here we have x minus 3 is equal to 0. So we're going to move our negative 3 to the other side, where we are going to have 0 plus 3. Then the first value of x is positive 3. Then also is x minus 2 is equal to 0. So if we move our negative 2 to the other side, we have 0 plus 2, where we get the other value, x is equal to 2. Now for part 3 here, we need to factorize. Now we are going to use the factorization method, of which involves difference of two squares. So what we are going to do is, we need to break our 36 into its perfect number. So 36 is the same as 6 raised to the power 2. Since we know that 6 raised to the power 2 is 6 times 6, which is also 36. So from there, we are going to open the two brackets. So this method is what we call difference of two squares. So one x will be here, the other x will be here. Then we are going to have positive 6 minus 6. So you need to have one bracket with a positive sign and the other bracket of a negative sign. Then from there, we are done with factorization. We are going to equate each party is equal to 0. So the first part is x plus 6 is equal to 0. Then the other part is x minus 6 is equal to 0. From there, we're going to move our positive 6 to the other side, giving us x is equal to -6. Then the other one, if we move our -6 to the other side, we are going to get x is equal to +6. Okay, now we can move on. We have question 4. Now here we are going to use the method that requires to find the product, the sum, and the factor. So let's begin. Now we have here the coefficient of x squared is a, then our b, which is the x raised to the power 1, and our c is just a constant. So if we are calculating the product is found by multiplying a times c. So the value of a, we can see that the number in front of x squared is 1, multiplied by the c is 12. So 1 times 12 is 12. Then the sum is found by just stating the value of b, and we can see that the value of b is 7. Then we need to find the factors. So the factors are the two numbers that we can add to give us 7, and when multiplied, that two numbers must give us 12. So now the easiest way in which you can find the factors, let's have our 12 here. So we are going to use our product in order to find the two numbers that we are looking for. So begin by dividing 1. So 1 into 12 is 12. So we can try. So we know that 1 times 12 is 12. So we are able to get the product. Now 1 plus 12, we are able to see that we are getting 13. So these two are not the factors. So we move on. We are going to try 2. So 2 into 12, that is 6. Let's try. So 2 times 6 is 12. 2 plus 6, this is 8. So we are unable to get the b, which is 7. Let's try 3. So we can divide 3 into 12 is 4. So 3 times 4, we get our product 12. 3 plus 4, we get our sum 7. So we can see that the factors that we are looking for are 3 and 4, because these two satisfy the sum and the product. So we can now proceed. So we can now say x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12 is equal to 0. So we are going to differentiate by grouping. So we are going to factorize the first part. So here we can see that x is common. Then we divide x into x squared is x, plus x into 3x, we are going to get our 3. Plus here we can see that the greatest common factor is 4. 4 into 4x is just x, plus 4 into 12 is 3 is equal to 0. So you can see that the two expressions in each bracket are equal to each. So what we are going to do is we are going to get one x plus 3, then x plus 4 will form a bracket, so x plus 4, then everything equals to 0. Then we can see that we are done factorizing, so we can now equate each bracket to 0. So x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 4 is equal to also 0. So we'll collect the like terms. So when 3 shift to the other side, we can see that we are going to have 0 minus 3. So the first root here is -3. Then we can also move our positive 4 to the other side, giving us 0 minus 4. X is equal to -4. So we've done the first part. So let's move on to the second part. So here also we are going to use the same method. So we are going to find the product, the sum, and the factors. So here let's find the product, the sum, and the factors. So product, we said we need to multiply the value of A with the value of C. Then from there we can proceed by finding the sum. Okay, so now let's find the product. So the value of A, we can see that we have our 4. The value of C is -6. So 4 times -6 is 24. Then the sum is -10. Now we can look at the factors. So we are going to use -24. So like we did, we are going to begin by we divide 1. So 1 into -24 is -24. 1 times -24 is -24. 1 plus -24 is -23. So we are unable to get the -10. So let's move on. We try. Let's try 2. 2 into -24 is -12. So 2 times -12 is -24. Then 2 minus 12 is -10. So we can see that the two factors that we are looking for are 2 and -12. Now let's proceed. Here we have 4p squared plus 2p minus 12p minus 6 is equal to 0. So you can factorize the first part here. So the first part here, we can see that the greatest common factor is 2. 2 can go into 4 and 2. Then the other factor is p. So if we divide 2p into 4p squared, we get 2p plus 2p into 2p is just 1. So here we can see that our greatest common factor is -6. Then we can divide -6 into -12p. We get 2p. -6 into -6 is +1 is equal to 0. So we can now factorize the common factor here, which is 2p plus 1. Then this will also form a pair. 2p minus 6 is equal to 0. Then we are going to equate each to 0. 2p plus 1 is equal to 0, or 2p minus 6 is equal to 0. So here we are going to move our positive 1 to the other side, which is now 0 minus 1. 2p is equal to 0 minus 1 is -1. We divide by 2, also by 2. P is equal to -half. Now let's also solve the other party. So we are going to move our -6 to the other side, giving us 2p is equal to 0 plus 6. 2p is equal to 0 plus 6 is just 6. We divide by 2. Also here by 2, we can see that the value of the other p is equal to 3. Okay, so now we can move on to the last problem. So feel free to pause the video and give it a try. Now here we can see the difference between this and the first question that we answered. Now we are not going to equate the m equals to 40, because this time here what we need here to have the value of 0. We need to have the 0 after the equal sign. So the first step that I'm going to do here, first I'm going to multiply m with everything inside the brackets. So we can begin m times m, we get m squared, minus m times 3, we get 3m. Then the other step is we have to move the positive 40 to the left side, giving us -40. which is now is equal to 0. Now here we can see that now we have the quadratic form the way we want it. So we have A, B, and C. So let's now proceed by finding the value of the product as well as the sum. So product, we said, is the value of A times C. So our A is 1 times negative 40, that is negative 40. Our sum is the value of B, which is negative 3. Then our factor, now we need to look at the factors. So the factors, the same way we did, we need to look at the two numbers that we can multiply to give us 40. So let's use the same method. So we have negative 40. So the first number we try, 1 into negative 40 is negative 40. So we can see that we cannot get the sum by adding. If we add 1 plus negative 40, we are going to have negative 13. So we are unable to get this one. So let's move on. Let's try 2. 2 will give us negative 20. If we add 2 plus negative 20, we can't get negative 3. Let's try 3, cannot go into 40. Let's try 4. 4 into 40 is 10, so which is negative 10. If we add 4 plus negative 10, we get negative 6. Now let's also try 5. So let's try 5. 5 into negative 40 is negative 8. So what if we add 5 minus 8? We can see that here we are able to get the negative 3 that we are looking for. So the factors for this particular problem are 5 and negative 8. So we can now proceed. M squared plus 5m minus 8m minus 40 is equal to 0. So the greatest common factor here is m. M into m squared is just m, plus m into 5m is 5. Here we get negative 8 is our common factor. If we divide negative 8 into negative 8m is positive m. Negative 8 into negative 40, that is positive 5, is equal to 0. Then we get m plus 5. Then this also must form a bracket, so m minus 8 is equal to 0. So we are done factorizing. We can now equate each to 0. M plus 5 is equal to 0, or m minus 8 is equal to 0. So we can now move the positive 5 to the other side. Get m is equal to negative 5. Then the other one, m is equal to negative 8. So this is how you can solve the quadratic equations using the method of factorization. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.